Now that we have an algebraic technique, let's practice it. So we're going to use substitution to solve both systems here. I think we actually have solved them both by graphing in the last chapter. So I just kind of want to show that it's just an algebra way to do the same thing. So we're going to be using the substitution technique. And so the first step, right, when I'm looking at this, I have to solve for one of my variables. So we have to pick which equation do I want to use and which variable do I want to solve for. Very luckily here, it doesn't really matter. They're all pretty easy. So how about I just stay here and let's solve this guy for y. So when I solve x plus y equals 10 for y, all I got to do is subtract x. And that gives us y equals negative x plus 10. So the next step is to substitute. Right? So now that I have what y is equal to, I'm going to go to the other equation and I'm going to substitute that y. I'm going to replace it with what we found it to be equal to in the other equation. Very important to use parentheses as you make that substitution, especially here we're subtracting whatever y is. So I can literally see the distribution that's going to occur as I take care of business. To solve the remaining, that's step 3, is to solve the remaining equation. So we'll start by simplifying both sides. So I did that already by starting to do the distribution. We can add 10 to both sides and get 2x equals 16. Take both sides and now divide by 2, and we get x equals 8. So there's our x coordinate for this system. Of course, the fourth step is I now have to go back, right, and solve for what y is. So y is negative x plus 10. So if I replace what I know x to be, we get y is negative 8 plus 10, and in this case we get 2. So what's the ordered pair that solves this? 8 and 2. Not bad to check this one. 8 plus 2 is 10, and 8 minus 2 is 6. So we have the solution to the system. I think last chapter we did this with a graph, and then of course here's what the substitution technique looks like for this guy. So take one of the variables, decide to solve for it. I decided to solve for y. We could have done x or x and y down here. Take that result, substitute in the other equation, solve the remaining equation using the ideas we know, and then go back and find the other value. Check it if you can. So let's do it again. So we're going to solve this system with substitution. So the first step is I got to find which variable I want to solve for. And again, when I take a really hard look, solving for y right here is probably the easiest thing to do, because all I have to do is subtract 2x. So we get y equals a negative 2x minus 4. So here's what y is equal to. The idea, the second step of this, is to go and substitute it into the other equation. So here's the other equation. And I'm going to replace y with what it's equal to from the other equation. So I'm taking the negative 2x minus 4, substituting it for y in the other equation. Now what I have, third step, right, is I've got an equation that I can solve using what we did way back when in chapter 2. So I'll begin that journey by simplifying. So if I distribute, I get that. Combining like terms, we get this. Starting to solve for x, my first good move would be to subtract 12 from both sides. That gives us a negative 30. Oops. And then I will take both sides and divide by 10. And so in this case, we get x is equal to negative 3. We're not done yet because we're trying to find an ordered pair, a point of intersection. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to solve for my y value. So now that I know what x is, I'll make that substitution. This is 6 minus 4. It looks like we get y equals 2. So the ordered pair that solves this system is negative 3, 2. And of course, if we were to check them out, All right, so 4 times negative 3 minus 3 times 2 is that negative 18. Was negative 2 minus 6 negative 18? Yes. So it solves that one. The other one, if I substitute my values in there, right, is negative 6 plus 2 equal to negative 4? Yes. So we found it. Again, I think we saw that in the last section when we graph, but there's what the substitution technique would look like. Again, the game plan, you have 4 choices at the beginning. Find an equation and a variable you want to solve for. Get that solution done. Substitute that information into the other equation. Solve the remaining equation. Go back and find the value of the remaining variable, and then you have your ordered pair. Check it if you can. So let's continue to see more examples. There's a lot of moving parts, so we need to practice a lot.